time, I'd like to welcome everybody to our session. This is Jerry Chia, your host. Welcome to the Next Generation IT Operations Management webinar today. Before we hand it over to Arthur Germain, we're going to talk real quickly about how you can ask questions today. We have our Q&A panel open on the right side of the screen. Just look to the bottom of the Q&A panel. Just type in your question and click the send button on the right side. Please leave the ask to all panelists. That way the questions will come to all of us during the session today. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand the call over to Arthur Germain.
Thank you, Jerry. Welcome to Insight from Logicalis. Today's webinar topic is Next Generation IT Operations Management. Our speaker is Mike Alley, Director of Service Management for Logicalis US. Mike brings 3 decades of experience in the technology industry and a wealth of knowledge on how to utilize technology solutions to increase efficiency. He joined Logicalis in 2006 through the acquisition of Caratech, a top HP partner in the Southeast. Prior to joining the Business Partner Channel, Mike served 17 years as a technical consultant, consulting manager, and enterprise account executive with HP. He began his career at Martin Marietta Energy Systems, where he served 10 years as a hardware design engineer and software developer. Taking a look at our agenda for today, Mike will provide his definition of next generation IT operations management. He will discuss the path to the next generation IT operations management, and then he will briefly talk about Logicalis. And now our presenter, Mike Alley.
Thanks, Arthur, and thanks to everyone who are joining us today. I want to talk a little bit about IT operations management from a viewpoint of what we have seen with our customers and the changes we see going on in the market today that are necessary to support the velocity that business is running at today. IT operations management by its name seems focused on IT, and it is. But the true value of IT operations management is only realized when IT's focus is external, and that's what the next generation IT operations management strategy is all about. Now, there is an extension of the IT operations management processes and tools into business processes, and that does drive revenue for the company. But it is really more than this. Efficient, effective, and accurate IT operations establishes a platform, if you will, on which companies can truly execute business transformation. Anything less becomes a drag on the company, with IT being viewed as a cost center or even an obstacle to company growth. I was set back a couple years ago when I first saw the surveys from CIO magazines of CIOs. And at that time, 25% of the CIOs in that survey ranked themselves as having been sidelined by the business. This causes companies to go outside of IT for technology solutions. Now, there's a reason why companies like Salesforce.com often ignore the CIOs and the IT directors and markets directly to the business unit managers. My analogy is this, and analogies really get overused, so forgive me, but I think this sets a good basis for what we're talking about. And the analogy is a fighter jet pilot. These pilots are basing their mission and their well-being on a platform that has to be efficient, effective, and accurate. And much of what's going on in that jet at any given time makes it respond to the commands of the pilot that are really not the responsibility of the pilot. The pilots have to trust that the jets will consistently respond as expected, that the data and the information provided is accurate, and that they do not have to be concerned with flying that aircraft by themselves. They can focus on the mission's business outcomes. Now, if this were not true, that jet would quickly be revamped or it would be scrapped. So is this analogy a good fit? Surprisingly enough, it is. If you break it down and drop into the individual parts of that, you'll find there's a lot of similarities. So when considering how IT operations management adds value and drives revenue, consider whether it is providing a platform on which the company can compete and meet their desired business outcomes. Now, just as a point of reference, when we're talking about IT operations management, if you look in the ITIL framework and IT service management, IT operations management is within the services operation part of that strategy. And there's key areas that it has: event management and monitoring, analytics, orchestration and automation, and service awareness. And so that just gives us a little point of reference as where we are today looking at this. You know, there's much that has already been accomplished by many companies on this journey, and these things that have been accomplished are really foundational to moving to the next generation of IT operations management. Having built efficiencies in the IT processes, it really then becomes important to determine the effectiveness of the processes. Efficiency implies repeatability, consistency, and lower cost, all very important things. Effectiveness refers to how that process is driving value into the business. An efficient change management process is one that drives the usage of the IT organization because of ease of use. It ensures appropriate notifications and approvals, and it improves the work of the change advisory board. An effective change management process reduces the risk of business disruption due to changes and ensures current business goals and status are accounted for in the process. Now, these should go hand in hand, but they don't always do. It is really a matter of focus, internal or external. So IT operations management moves from also just a governance of internal processes and compliance to really providing guidance to the business on how technology impacts their vision and strategy. It increases effectiveness through automation. Not only builds a strong knowledge base, which is important, but it begins to use that knowledge as a basis for automation. A lot of the knowledge that we have today are in knowledge bases, but a lot of it is in the heads of those people that are responding to incidents. We want to move that information not only to a knowledge base, but we want to put it into a place where that knowledge can accurately be used to trigger remediation events, if you will, inside the process without human intervention. Now, that gets into event management, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how that triggers automation. It provides a single view of a multi-consumption model of IT resources. Many companies are moving to cloud, external cloud. They are moving to SaaS solutions. But all of that needs to be managed as a single entity through a very strong service management strategy. And all of this really builds, I think, a very structured IT platform. And I know structure often is considered a bad word, but I really believe and have seen with many customers that building that structured approach then allows that organization to understand how to be agile and really support the velocity that the business has to maintain. By being structured, it takes away a lot of the decisions day to day that people have to make, creating a more effective platform, as I talked about with the Jet Pilot. My apologies. I had a little trouble advancing the slide. So why does all this matter? This is an interesting topic for me, in that as being someone in the industry, we've often told IT organization and business units the driving factors for making change. And though it's not been wrong, it's amused me sometimes when we try to tell people in those organizations what is going on in their organizations. But the truth is, there's a digital transformation going on in the business today that if, as an IT organization, we don't keep up with, it's going to have devastating consequences, not only for the IT organization, more importantly for the business. Digital transformation has become a key factor in future business growth and success. That's just the reality. and that change is happening much faster than it was even 5 years ago. The digital revolution is about consumer behavior and business opportunity. It's not about technology. But the future of business, while well-defined, has to leverage technology to enable partners and customers across a wide range of digital processes. So the next generation of IT operation management is about becoming an enabler to business, not a cost center or an obstacle. So what do we need to do? Logicalis has put together a strategy that for this next generation of IT operations management that has 3 key points: get smart, get automated, and get aware. IT needs to draw on what it knows how to do, and IT knows how to do a lot, and use that knowledge to empower the business side to do what it knows how to do. Technology and business need to work together as one. That's been the holy grail for a long time. I've been in the service management industry since 2005, and I've watched a lot of failures. I've watched some successes. I believe today, in particularly because of the platforms and tool sets and the capabilities that are available, we have that opportunity to build that alignment so that we get the value that comes with that. There has to be, there's several factors that make achieving this goal increasingly doable, and I talked about those, and they are affordable, available a diverse range of service management tool sets, and there's an emergence of intelligent infrastructure which devices are able to communicate directly with, and there's a broader understanding of the dynamics between technology and business. And each of those points is touched on with these 3 bullets that is a part of our strategy. Achieving the convergence of business and technology today is not only possible, but it really is mandatory. Organizations that accomplish it first are going to pull ahead of competitors in the market. So we've established these 3 priorities: get aware, by closely aligning business services with specific IT services, particularly in your CMDB, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. Get smart by employing event management and analytics to not only better understand, but to enhance IT operations and set a basis for a lot of automated responses that can occur. And get automated using the awareness and the smarts that we talked about in the other 2 business. Automate responses in key areas, including incident remediation. So let's talk about get smart. If you looked in the ITIL framework, and I'm not one that really focuses on ITIL. I think it's a great framework. There's other frameworks out there, but I felt like the definition for event management is really important. I'm interested to find that a lot of companies today are not focused on event management. Though they may have some tools, monitoring tools in particular, that have event management in them, it's really not a part of their overall service management strategy. But if you look at the definition in the ITIL framework, it talks about using event management services as the basis for automation. It provides the ability to detect and interpret and initiate appropriate actions for events. Not only is it operational monitoring and control for entry points, but it is the basis for automation. So I think that getting smart with this does a couple things. One, it correlates a lot of data. Forget the part about being the basis for a lot of automated actions. It allows the ability to get actions in the hands of your resources as well with more data, more accurate data, so they can make decisions faster. I talked earlier about maintaining knowledge. A lot of the knowledge that's in your teams today is in the knowledge of a few people. And when they get an incident or multiple incidents, it is their gut feel that the actual problem occurs in a particular server or a particular network segment, and they act on that. The goal is to get that gut feel into business rules and an event management process so that you either take an automated actions or you're providing greater information to your resources so they can more quickly remediate the incidents. Event management gives you knowledge and smarts that you need to distinguish between three types of events. Events are not incidents, by the way. Incidents are things that have occurred that cause some disruption in services. But with the three basic types of events, you can get information. You get those through logs or automated reports. You get warnings that there's an approaching threshold on some device, or you get exceptions. Exceptions can be incidents, but are not always incidents. And by categorizing these events appropriately, event management makes it possible to prioritize your response and focus on the exception event alerts that are tagged as critical events based on typically the business process that it's interrupting. There's also a need for understanding how your organization is running. Performance analytics is really focused internally at how you are accomplishing the goals of the organization. It's also capturing how your user base is adopting to the services that you're providing. Performance analytics will typically give you visual indicators on dashboards of day-to-day performance to these goals, but it also gives you historical data so that you can look at this, and these performance analytics really become the basis for continual service improvement process. I've always told customers that process design is not the best way to go. Typically taking a process that a partner brings you around incident change, whatever process, is the best way to go because it is a best practice process, which I know has a squishy definition, but we won't go into that. But it is a best practice process that has been proven, and it will get you 70, 80% of where you want to be. And then I always encourage customers to start on a continual service improvement process to drive each of those processes to the maturity level that they want. The gap often is there's not enough information to base that continual service improvement process on, and that's where performance analytics comes in. Monitoring, there's a lot of monitoring of tools out there today that gather information. What you want to do is get more consolidated data through the event management, but never underestimate the importance of monitoring the infrastructure. It's important to maintain your CMDB up to date. It's important sometimes to generate alert, look at end-user performance and application performance. All of these areas give the IT organization greater information about how to approach improving their processes and driving a more consistent and effective response to business demands. So let's talk about getting automated. Automation can take a lot of forms. In fact, when Logicalis first brought in the latest tool set, the ServiceNow tool set, into our operations center several years ago, automated workflow was very important. It allowed us to significantly reduce the cost of our delivering our services. It allowed us to start offering SLAs based on remediation time. I think we've taken that for granted over the years because it's something that we have been doing. But automated workflows is very important to any service management strategy, whether it's just for getting approvals, whether it's providing automated support for requests that come in. So there's a wide range of automations that can add value and increase your effectiveness and reduce your cost in IT operations. From a strategic viewpoint, Logicalis looks at automation across these three functional stacks. The one to the left is the Enterprise Service Management tool. I'm a big believer that as much of the foundation and enabling technology for automation should reside in the Enterprise Service Management tool set. Of course, the IT processes, of course, the CMDB, of course, the ability to make requests and everything. But I really believe as much of the orchestration and the workflows and the governance, even reference architectures when you talk about infrastructure automation, should reside in your CMDB. Now, with that strategy, we break it down into two areas of automation. There's really automation around associated with applications and operating systems. One of the examples that I always talk about is an end user who requests a laptop through the service catalog. Now, the service catalog can provide various options and ordering options, maybe based on that person's role or that person's location. And typically when the order is placed, that order goes to someone inside the organization and that passes this. But there are organizations today that we've worked with that we actually integrate with the procurement system, pass that data directly to the procurement system so that when the order is placed or the order is requested by the end user, it is placed automatically by the procurement system and the end user has direct access into tracking that. There's others as far as HR, just simple things like password reset, automatic fulfillment of software requests. An end user that goes into the service catalog and requests a desktop application once the approvals and everything is done, your software asset tables are decremented by one to show where that license is, and then that software is automatically installed on that end user's desktop. Another example is automatic incident remediation. This is a very simple one. We have seen this use case with customers where servers that have particular instances or issues or incidents just need services restarted. And so you can automate the restarting of that service. If that clears the incident, that's all documented in the ticket and no one ever has to touch that. The other area of automation that is getting a lot of attention today is infrastructure automation. It typically is focused on the provisioning and modification of resources, both on-prem resources and even public cloud resources. But it does go beyond that. It gets into maintaining standard configuration of a set of servers that are supporting an application. It can be monitoring the capacity performance of the infrastructure. It can be for automated patching and those kinds of things. Now, a lot of those types of things are found in today what we call cloud management platforms. And there's several on the market today. If you read what the industry analysts are saying about that, we're a little ahead of the curve with the cloud management platforms, but there are solutions out there today that can be used. When we look at this, and by the way, this strategy that I just showed you doesn't always stand when we get to reality. And there are ways to maintain a semblance of the strategy, even with tool sets that may not talk together in the industry today. So we've looked at this, and we define three categories: single platform, cross-platform, and standalone platforms that we talk to our customers about. A single platform is the epitome, I believe, of the strategy that I just provided to you, and it is an enterprise service management platform that also has the infrastructure automation capabilities associated with that. Now, I point out the infrastructure automation because typically application and operating system automation is a part of the enterprise service management platform because they provide integration to other applications so that you can trigger requests to that as opposed to providing tickets to resources who then turn around and log in and do the same thing. So that you typically find that enterprise management platforms, the ones that really support this, do have orchestration capabilities, and I find that very important to trigger that because I think that really ties in with cross-platform solutions. Now, I'm sorry, back to the single platform, there are platforms today that are building cloud management platforms into their enterprise service management tool set. Again, I find that to be the epitome of driving this strategy. But there are other cloud management platforms that customers might already be using that they want to then integrate with their service management platform. And so we defined a strategy of building an orchestration level integration between the enterprise service management platform and the cloud management platforms that are external. Now, I'm not really trying not to use a lot of product names here, but there's some key ones that really lend themselves to doing this. The reason I think that it's important to have the orchestration level integration is I think it allows you to take the advantage of the value of both platforms. Using the orchestration level in the enterprise service management platform allows the start of the automation that may come from a end-user request. It may come from resource and demand processes that are associated with new projects that are coming on board. And all of that can be automated using the orchestration layer in the enterprise service management platform. When you get to the cloud management platform, they all have orchestration components as well. And I think to get the full advantage of those cloud management platforms, whether it's provisioning or deprovisioning or capacity, performance monitoring, those kinds of things, you've got to integrate at the orchestration level, provide the request, and let that cloud management platform respond to that request within its capabilities. This is how you get the greatest value out of that. The other one is, and it's interesting that a lot of customers are doing this, and I do understand why. I call it standalone platforms. It's where you have an enterprise service management platform that does everything that you need it to do, but you also want to use a cloud management platform that is standalone. And it's perfectly acceptable to do that. What you see on the slides is basically a swivel seat. And the way this works is, and it's the way a lot of things in IT work, but I think this gives the best fit to the strategy that I provided earlier without going through the integration phase. And basically requests from whatever process within the enterprise service management that require activity in the infrastructure for provisioning, deprovisioning, getting data for the CMDB, whatever, actually go in a ticket form to a resource. That resource takes that ticket, looks at the request, logs into the cloud management platform, performs the actions, and then responds to the inputs to the ticket, which then goes back into the enterprise service management platform. It's not smooth, it's not automated, but it is a consistent process. And it does provide 97% of the compliance and audit trails that are required for a lot of these. So it's not the best. Obviously, I believe the single platform is the best solution to getting to fully automated IT operations management, but either one of the cross-platform and standalone platforms provide exactly the same capability. So let's talk about getting aware. In the past, creating a service-aware infrastructure has really been a challenge. It's really required a manual approach. In fact, even before I was working in the IT service management industry as a consultant with HP, we did services where we would go in and, quote, align the business services with the IT services. Now, it was probably an effective service. I would say it was 70 to 80% accurate, depending upon how much time was put into it. The problem is it was a single point in time event. The day after we stopped our study, even before we might have presented the results, there were changes to that environment. So, even if you're successful in building business service mapping in your CMDB, manually mapping these services was inaccurate, it was slow, and it quickly became out of date. And so without an accurate understanding of the services topology, you really can't determine which business services are affected by component-specific changes, failures, or performance issues. Fortunately, today tools exist that automate the discovery and mapping and updating of business services. They're a little manual in getting them set up, but once they're set up, they are very effective in keeping those services updated, and they provide a top-down approach to service mapping that shows the relationship between the IT components, that comprise specific business services, really even in a highly dynamic and virtualized environment. If you can picture the layers of your CMDB where the individual components, whether it's servers or storage or network devices, or reference architectures or policies and procedures. And as you roll those up through your CMDB where they're mapped into IT services, and then these IT services are mapped at the top level into business services. As a foundational component of really what I think requires a successful operations strategy, the CMDB will serve as your single source of record. It'll contain the details and the requirements not only of every device in the IT environment, but specific business services that depend on it. If you're about to patch a bunch of servers, or if there's an incident with a server, you can prioritize your remediation by having these business services aligned and know how to quickly go in and make sure the business is not impacted by these events. So let's talk about the service-defined enterprise now, because this is the guiding factor behind what Logicalis does with this strategy and really with every strategy that we offer as a service today. The service-defined enterprise is Logicalis' strategy and roadmap for enabling organizations to become efficient and agile service providers, driving business outcomes, focusing on business outcomes, not focusing on day-to-day IT operations management. And that goes back to the model and even the analogy with the fighter jet, is following this service-defined enterprise strategy, of which you can see in the slide, service management is really the glue that holds it together and the governance that ties it together. I define a service-defined enterprise as where IT is viewed as a thought leader rather than a cost center, an IT organization that's capable of very rapid deployment and innovation of solutions. Goes back to what we talked about earlier about providing guidance to the organization, that they're able to focus on business outcomes and do this by providing really multiple consumption models, whether it's cloud or SaaS, those types of offerings. Each one of those brings their own level of monitoring and management even. Particularly SaaS operations, you're typically monitoring the application performance and the end-user response and even to the point of the accuracy of responses to the end users. Infrastructure as a service in a public cloud, you really are not monitoring the servers and storage associated with that, but you are monitoring the performance of that and how that supports your business outcome and the availability of those. And then, of course, with on-prem, you've got end-to-end requirements for monitoring and managing that whole environment. The end result is really an enhanced consumer experience and increased agility and reduction of risk. And I really haven't focused on that. I talked about the efficient processes, and that does drive costs down, but it also helps reduce risk. But I have been with customers that were not taking advantage of that value of reduced risk and translating that value to business outcomes. And I think that requires really a business alignment in your CMDB for your IT services to have that insight into how that is impacted and then be able to draw that analogy or show that value to the business. It's really all about the IT, next generation of IT operation management is really about not only driving efficiency, which IT organizations have begun to master, but it's driving effectiveness into the business and then aligning that services that you offer with the business so that you become a service-defined enterprise. So these are the things that allow us or the areas that we measure how we are getting to maturity level in the next generation of IT operations, and it really is truly an external focus. And I know most organizations view themselves as being externally focused, but it really is measured on not only understanding the value, but measuring the value that is delivered into to the business, even to the point of the revenue that's driven by the guidance, by not only the reduction in cost of IT operations, but the ability to actually drive revenue through automated capabilities within the organization, driving revenue by being able to stay with the velocity that businesses are required to maintain today. It is about customer experience. Many customers today still view IT as an organization that is an obstacle that's too hard to get through. One of the best examples I have is a company that we have worked with that was looking for a supply chain operations management tool, and they did not go to the IT organization for that. They were out looking for external providers of that type of technology, but they couldn't find it. And they came back to the IT organization who had recently implemented a major enterprise service management platform, and through discussions realized that they could do the tasks, they could put the applications, they could drive the desired outcomes for the supply chain operations organization within their enterprise service management platform. And in doing so, which they did very quickly, actually provided the data. There were not manufacturing defects. The problems they were having was as the product got to the stores, it was damaged. The stores did not have great processes for reporting this, and they determined there were issues with the shipping of these products to the store. That was what I think is the epitome of the business units and the IT coming together. Would like to have thought that they would have done this initially, but I think it tells you how IT can grow into that thought leadership, that business partner. So IT operations management is a part of the overall service management platform, and it's about being effective as well as being efficient. It's about maintaining a steady state platform that empowers the business and business agility. Remember, the digital transformation is about business. It's not about technology. Technology is the enabler, and IT organizations will either become that enabler or they will be sidelined by the business. Automation of day-to-day processes really does reduce costs, but it reduces risk by standardizing your task and really removing the human factor. And it really speeds up the time to response, whether it's time to remediation or it's time to fulfillment of request. It provides very consistent auditable trail to improve compliance posture. I believe automation is the key to building that jet fighter platform for an IT organization so that business knows that that platform is going to respond to their needs as quickly as a jet fighter pilot requires that plane to respond to their commands. It provides a transfer of cost from maintenance to more strategic activities that really do increase agility. And I know agility is a word that is well overused, but with the speed to market that businesses are faced with today, agility really is critical to the business and to the IT organization. So how does Logicalis help you? Logicalis is a global provider of these solutions and services. We have solution sets around enterprise service management and cloud management platforms through our partners that fit well within the strategy that we laid out. We have the integration capabilities outlined for tying together the automation that we showed you. We have the processes and best practices really based on how we do it in our operations centers that support our strategic services. And so it comes together to really provide put Logicalis in the position of being that partner that can help businesses drive business outcomes, not only through the service-defined enterprise strategy, but also what we do in service management. I would also tell you if I could advance my slides, that we really provide a consultative approach to enabling this type of solution. It's not Logicalis's intent to come in and just implement service management or cloud management platforms or event management for customers and say, hey, have fun with this, get smarter, get automated, and get aware, and you will be the organization that you want to be. We actually come in at a higher level and really provide more effective response to business requirements. We help identify needs for greater efficiencies. We help identify needs for automation, but then we align those with business outcomes so that we really come in and actually have workshops and services where we will help customers build a strategy and then build the execution task associated with that strategy to become a truly digital enterprise. Other with that, that is the last of my slide. If you want to open this up to questions, then I'm available for that.
Terrific. Thanks, Mike. Some really terrific information there. If you have a question, please put it into the box in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We do have a couple of questions people have been sending through, Mike. First is a question, where do we get started? What's a good starting point for ITOM?
You know, so a good starting point for getting to that next generation of IT operations management is really to evaluate where you are today and the efficiencies that IT operations management should be driving into the IT organization. And then do an evaluation of how effective those processes and those actions that you're taking are for the business. And really, there's a start with a vision. And in Logicalis's terms, that vision is the services-defined enterprise. I really believe that organizations that start at a tool set level and say, we're going to implement cloud management platform, or we're going to implement event management, or we're going to start mapping our business services, all valid steps. I think companies that start along that without a vision and a strategy run the risk of not getting to the outcome that they're looking for. And so I believe that this whole strategy, again, my terminology, service-defined enterprise, really aligns IT and business objectives, and that they use their ITSM strategy is really the center of governance and control, and they really can then navigate with confidence towards this vision, knowing that each piece that I mentioned a minute ago that you bring in ties together with the overall strategy, not only IT strategy, but the business's strategy. The solid ground that a lot of IT organizations have found allow them to push off to this next generation of IT operations management. You may say that we've been doing IT operations management for a long time, and most companies have, and that's the efficiency part. But I believe that the next step is aligning all the technology, all the things that you're doing with more specific business outcomes, and not just aligning them, but tracking them and reporting on them. That's how you understand the value, the true value that IT is driving into a business.
Thank you. Another question, Mike. If businesses find value in an externally provided software as a service offering, what are the negatives?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, and there are some negatives, but it's more about the approach, not about the use of external providers, because there are a lot of external solutions today, whether it's cloud offerings, SaaS offerings, platform as a service offerings, that will drive value for businesses. They're required. Why would you go out and invent your own Salesforce.com or something like that when you have access to that and you're not having to worry about the maintenance of it, or the upgrading of it, or things like that? It meets business requirements, and it's an effective tool set, any of these. The negatives come on how that occurs. I mentioned the customer who was out looking for an external solution for supply chain operations. And for those companies that are doing that, because they don't feel like the IT organization can respond fast enough or for whatever reason, when they bring those in, they run the risk of not having it integrate with other processes and applications within the company. They have compliance and governance problems by not tying that in and understanding. They can even have security problems if they're not managing their data appropriately. So I believe that these types of services and solutions are very effective and of value, great value to companies, but they should be brought in the context of an overall service management strategy so that the IT organization really is able to attest to the function and the integration with everything else in the company and the compliance and governance.
Great, thank you. If we don't have any additional questions for today, we'll end our webinar. This will be available in a recorded webinar later on the Logicalis US website. Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar.